Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. This is quite remarkable. I'm just thinking back to my first time in front of a group of gluten-free consumers, probably 20 years ago in Toronto. I think we probably had about 250 people. So that's quite an enormous change over the years. And I must say that the quality of the food that we had that long ago was really quite dramatically different than you're going to find today. I've been asked to talk today about gluten-free manufacturing, some of the unique features of it, and probably to give consumers some idea about the kind of scale, the kind of intensity, the kind of effort it takes to make the new gluten-free foods. I'd like to thank the sponsors for this event. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for consumers to see the kind of foods that are available, the selection. So I think congratulations to all of them. This is one of our facilities in Edmonton. I just wanted to briefly mention, before we get into the production, if this thing works. Yeah, this is our first store in 1991. I think it was 600 square feet. We started our company at the farmers market, and we were, I guess, fortunate in that we became the very first company to put food on the internet. And so for about 9 or 10 years, Kinnikinnick Foods was the only product you could get anywhere in North America. We had a special program where you could buy food for $10 anywhere in North America, overnight delivery. We started that in 1997. And we still have that program. It's still a valuable program for introducing new products. We then went on to another plant, which is about 20,000 square feet, actually 30,000 square feet, in 2005. And then we bought this dandy one here, which is 150,000 square feet of production space. Between those two plants, we have the largest dedicated production facilities in the world. So we have quite an extensive line of equipment and products and that sort of thing. I want to talk about some really critical elements in gluten-free manufacturing. But before I do that, I just want to talk about one of the major differences, because one of the questions I get all the time is, how come gluten-free is so expensive? How come it's so much more expensive than regular foods? Well, this is kind of how you make a basic loaf of bread. If it's conventional, you go down to your local flour mill, throw in a little bit of sugar and yeast, and bingo, you've got a loaf of bread. Well, we do it a little differently. When we make a loaf of bread, we have to bring in products we bring in tapioca starch from Thailand. We bring in some products from Southeast Asia, guar gum, for example, in our cookies. We bring in specialty ingredients from Europe, products that aren't made in North America. We bring in things like rice flour from California. We supply canola, pulse products, that's pea products, potato products, and flaxseed, things like that from Western Canada. So when you get a loaf of our bread, it's coming from 4 different continents. And that's one of the reasons why gluten-free is so expensive. Why do we use all these different kinds of bread, or different kinds of starches? The key has been, how do you make a product that is as good as regular bread? And the way that we've tried to do that is to use blending, special techniques, special ingredients. In one case, for example, we buy half the world's supply of a particular ingredient. Half is in Europe and half is in North America. We buy all of the North American supply. It's a unique product, and that's kind of the focus that we have for our gluten-free manufacturing. First thing about for manufacturing gluten-free bread is you have to start with reliable ingredients. You all know that it's so easy for people to get sick with the slightest amount of gluten in your product. We start with dealing with reputable suppliers. We require all the documentation from the suppliers on how they make the product. Do they make it only on dedicated lines? If they don't make it on dedicated lines, chances are we'll never talk to them. The only time we might make that exception is if it's a unique product that's not available anywhere else in the world, And then we have some particular protocols that we would use to make sure that it's safe. We don't click this, right? We actually visit all of our major mills, our major suppliers. We buy directly from mills so that we check them out annually to make sure that they're meeting the protocols for gluten-free. And I think one of the most important things that we do is that we test every ingredient that comes into our plant. Every shipment of product that comes in, we'll run a test on it to check for gluten, to check for dairy, to check for peanuts, to check for tree nuts. All those are, we use our lab. We do all of the testing just to make sure that absolutely nothing comes into our plant that doesn't meet all those 4 major allergen requirements. So we test all of our incoming ingredients. We test them down to the lowest possible level, which is 5 parts per million. Canadian standards, US standards are 20 parts per million, but all of our ingredients are tested down to 5 parts. So that you can think about if it's 5 parts per million and we blend that into a group or into a formula, it's impossible to have anything anywhere near 5 parts per million in terms of the end result. We also test our finished products just to make sure that they also meet that standard. Question about dedicated gluten-free facilities. I guess we're kind of religious on this particular point. We've only made gluten-free foods in our plants since 1991. We've never made anything else. We believe that's essential because we've seen the issues about cross-contamination are huge. Airborne cross-contamination is something that most manufacturers don't understand. They think they can just spray out the machines and run a gluten-free line on a regular line. I can tell you it doesn't work that way. When you test like we do for everything, dedicated facilities are the only way you're going to get 100% safe food all the time. We have the 2 facilities. We only sell what we make, so we don't do any co-packing. We don't co-pack for anybody else. So everything you get from Kinnikinnick Foods, we make in one of our 2 plants. They're all dedicated, so they're each of them is as safe as the other one. One of the questions you should definitely, when you're talking to manufacturers, ask them about the way they make, where do they get their food made, how do they make it. You really want to focus on dedicated facilities as being your safest way to get the products that you need. We put a QC lab into our factories in 2009. We have a food scientist that handles all of our incoming ingredients, does all the testing of all the foods, does all the microbiological testing. We also send out products for third-party testing just to make sure our test results are accurate. So we really attempt to focus really intensively on this food safety issue. In this past year, a lot of the major retail chains are looking for better quality food standards for manufacturers, and the first requirement is that we do a HACCP certification. And what that does, it means that we go through a third-party audit, which is excruciating. It takes about 18 months, and you have to document all your procedures and all the things you do to ensure that there's no way that there can be any kind of contamination in your supply chain. So that was a major effort. We have the 1 facility certified in 2013, and the other one will be done in 2014. I guess the biggest issue that we've seen is the quality of food is just dramatically different. You're all, I'm sure, if you've been a celiac for any period of time, you've seen all the dense breads and all of the pound breads that used to be this big and dense and not very tasty, dry, fall apart, had to toast it. Well, today that's totally changed. I keep doing this. The new breads that we manufacture for the past 18 months are soft, same texture. We've done a lot of blind taste testing with conventional products. Very difficult to tell the difference. A dramatic change for us, certainly, and for the industry, in the type of sort of dense, short bread. Used to be 6-inch loaf. Now you get a standard sized loaf. So you end up with a very comparable product to the conventional industry. One of the big things that we did a couple of years ago is we set up our own product development center. We used to do all of our products. It was kind of like trial and error. And now we have a couple of food scientists on staff. And the result is that we've now got, if you look at the new breads that we make, we have some of the most nutritious gluten-free food in the industry. And in fact, our new soft white formulations, soft multigrain formulations, are more nutritious than most of the breads, the conventional breads that you're going to see on the shelves. All of our products are gluten-free, dairy-free, nut-free, so they're fairly allergy-friendly. So it's a great product for people with allergies. Meets a lot of people's requirements. We also have focused extensively on the nutritional. Everybody's concerned about sodium. They want lower carbohydrate. They want higher fiber. Big issue with gluten-free foods. High fiber fiber is often missing from the diet. All of our breads have 5 grams of fiber per serving, so very healthy in terms of the fiber content. We'll continue to use the product development center to come up with new products. We do about 4 or 5 new products every year. And we try to keep coming up with new ideas so that kind of keep your attention if we possibly can. We're all very pleased to make note of this. Self magazine is one of the major retail publications in the U.S. And for the past 2 years, our multigrain bread has been voted the best gluten-free bread in the industry. So we're particularly proud of that because they look at all of the breads in North America and do ratings on all of them. And you can see we've got the magic numbers, no cholesterol, no trans fats, 5 grams of fiber, lower sugar. So a lot of people, especially celiacs, are used to reading labels. And so looking at the nutritional aspect it becomes pretty important to a lot of our consumers. We just came out with, we did the soft breads, which have been very popular. We just come out with the new soft bagels. One of the problems that we had with bagels is that most bagels are bread with a hole in it, and not very exciting. The new bagels that we make are basically New York style bagels. They're actually boiled like regular bagels are, so you're getting something that's quite different in terms of a bagel that's in the gluten-free market. So I just wanted, I guess, to make some general conclusions. Gluten-free is not an easy product to make. The formulation of gluten-free products is extremely difficult. They're complicated. Unlike regular breads where you might have 4 or 5 ingredients and about 7 or 8 chemicals for preservatives, gluten-free is a matching of all kinds of different starches, specialty ingredients. Every time we do a new product, it's a different formulation, so that our breads are different from our bagels are different from our buns, and we're trying to make sure that we get the right texture, the right taste, the right flavor for each of those type of specialty items. We believe that a critical element is dedicated facilities. As more and more companies get into the gluten-free industry, there's going to be, as you all know now, there's all kinds of new products hitting the market. I think it's really critical that people be aware that a lot of these products are made in conventional facilities where you just simply hose down the lines and then run gluten-free. You've got to be very careful of that because I think we'll see more recalls over the coming years where people find out that if you don't have a dedicated facility, it's difficult to make really safe food. So you should be talking to manufacturers about are they dedicated, how safe is their lines. We, of course, most of the manufacturing companies now have certification programs, and they do check out supply chains, make sure that, hopefully to try to make sure that the suppliers of ingredients are safe. That's good to a point, but I can tell you from the sampling of ingredients that we do every day, you'd be amazed at how many times we get products from companies that indicate that they're gluten-free, and they're not. They exceed 20 parts per million. So The dedicated thing is really quite and the supply chain reliability are very important parts of this food safety issue. I guess our basic objective in all of our gluten-free manufacturing is to make gluten-free as good as normal food. That's really the gold standard for anybody in the gluten-free business is when you've got a family member who's gluten-free and the whole family ends up eating our products, that's really when you say you've done something right. That used to be the exception. Today I can tell you that we've got all kinds of feedback from consumers who basically said, my family, I've got one person in the family, we just eat gluten-free all the time because it's no longer the challenge that it used to be. Maybe a little more expensive, but the quality of the food, the nutritional values, if you look at a lot of the foods that we make, like for example, our cookies, for years we've been adding protein to the cookies, less sugar. When you actually look at the nutritional values of some of our cookies versus conventional cookies, you're going to say, hey, guess what? There's no trans fats, no preservatives, no artificial colors, no artificial flavors, lower sugar, you know, and they taste great. So that's really the test that we think is the most important, is to get the food down to as normal as we can make it. And I think I roared through that fast enough. Probably, I think I'm 5 minutes under, so. Okay, I do have one quick video, or a couple of quick videos here. Some of you might be interested in the scale of products. These are very short videos, so you got to really watch them quickly. These are some of the equipment that we make in the plant. This is our large facility, 150,000 square feet, has 16 shipping doors, 150-foot ovens, 2,000-pound mixers. We have 450-foot ovens, a little bigger than your conventional home oven. We used to make 60 cookies a minute, now we make 3,000 cookies a minute. Totally automated. Not totally, I guess. This is a production of the Kinnikinnick Critters. I love this because this is like oceans of cookies. You kind of enjoy seeing those kind of things. Actually, it's fun to see them every day at the plant, too. These are some of the most popular cookies in North America, the S'morables. When springtime comes around, those are almost impossible to keep on the shelves. The K2s, this is a great line. We make biscuits first, and then the biscuits go through an icing, which puts on that nice little icing in the middle, sticks them together, and away they go. And all these are made in a dedicated production facility. Cupcakes, we make things in large quantities. We supply all over North America. These are our pizza crusts. And again, same thing there, it's oceans of pizza crusts. We do make a lot of products at one time. This is the mix line. We do dry mixes for pancake mix. Rachel Ray says our pancake mix is the best in the industry, and I believe her. Make donuts, one of the only companies that have made donuts in the gluten-free industry for the last 12, 15 years. We've got new varieties that will be coming out soon. If you go onto our web today, you would find pumpkin spice donuts, which are a seasonal deal that you can only get on our website. Marvelous product. Lots of bagels. This is our smaller facility. We do some of our shorter runs at the smaller facility. And that's one of them. I got two more short ones. This one is the importance of dedicated facilities. This is an indication. Has this got sound? It might have explanation on this one. It was a brand new machine, but it was about 2 years old, but we bought it, and we had to decontaminate it. This gives you some idea what happens in a conventional facility that's doing co-packing. You can't see most of this. This is all part of the cleaning process with the machine. So this is the kind of thing, it kind of turns your, so these are things like the chain drives. This is what, that's the amount of wheat that's in the machine. You can see it everywhere in the machine. There's wheat around. So the question is, how often can that end up in gluten-free food? And a couple of crumbs is all it takes to make you sick. So it's a, you know, that's why we really harp on this dedicated facility business. This is in the waffle drums. Picks the waffles off the liner. So if you're using a co-pack facility, there'll be contamination on the pickers. And this is a relatively new operation. This is only about 1.5 years old when we bought it. We had to strip the machines down, take everything apart, and make it 100% gluten-free. And lastly, I think we have one more. Oh, this is a very short one. This is what we do with our, as part of our commitment to food safety. This is how we handle our ingredient sourcing. We have our own lab. We have 4 people in the lab, always testing, sampling, checking. Every time we get a shipment of product in, we have somebody taking samples from, not from every pallet, but from maybe 3 or 4 from a shipment. Test them out for gluten, for dairy, for peanuts. We also do all of our microbiological testing as well to make sure that the lines are all safe, food safe. We do this every day, all day long, to make sure that everything, and this is our certification. We don't use, we use that as our gluten-free certification. It's basically 5 parts per million. So everything, all of our products are certified to 5 parts per million. So that's kind of, I think I have a few minutes for questions if anybody would be interested. But that's the Kinnikinnick story, and we're certainly pleased to be at this show, a show like this now. It's certainly a huge indicator of the growth in the industry. I think consumers can be really pleased about, with all this interest in the industry, there's going to get better and better products, and the only thing that we want to emphasize is try to make the manufacturers give you safe food. That's the big issue. So it's up to consumers to put a little bit of that kind of pressure on as well.